Hi, I'm Buzz Brayman. Thank you for your interest in my Sure Shot method. Your instruction will start in just a moment, but first I wanted to alert you to a special offer available only to those who have purchased this video. In the course of this tape, you will see me using a unique teaching device, a thumb and arm restraint system that we call the Star Strap. We have found this restraining system to be very helpful in practicing the Buzz Brayman shooting method, so we're making it available to you at a special introductory price. We've included full information on how to order a Star Strap at the conclusion of the instructional tape, so look for it and order yours today. Thank you again. Now get ready to shoot like the pros with the Buzz Brayman Sure Shot method.
Let's face it, putting the ball through the hoop is what the game is all about. In this video, you're going to learn an incredible new method for shooting a basketball. A method so good that it's been adopted by pros like Johnny Dawkins and Hersey Hawkins of the Philadelphia 76ers and dozens of other NBA stars. Hi, I'm Billy Packer, and I've been around the game of basketball for a long time, and I've seen lots of great shooters, but I've never seen anyone who could teach you to become a great shooter. That is until I met Buzz Brayman. They call him the Shot Doctor. Buzz never played pro ball, but today he teaches shooting to the Philadelphia 76ers as the only shooting coach in the NBA. His Sure Shot shooting method can make you the deadliest shooter on the floor in no time at all.
What you have to understand is that shooting is a very delicate thing, locked in very much so to one's confidence. So for players to have someone to whom they can refer in the event things aren't going the way you'd like, I think is incredibly important.
This guy hit 738 free throws in a row.
I think people really associate the NBA with flashiness, with dunking, with the big guys. A lot of people don't think about the shooting, and unfortunately, it's becoming, you know, a big part now of why teams don't do well. You need shooters, and you know, hopefully, you know, people can, if they can pick up on this method, can shoot the ball, and you know, we can get more shooting coaches. But you know, we have the first, so we always have the best.
Buzz Brayman made 246 of 250 college three-pointers.
Was I skeptical about Buzz Brayman as a shooting coach? That's an understatement. When you're looking at, you know, shooting coaches, I guess in our profession, you say, well, you know, I've gotten to the NBA, so I must have been doing something right. And I've always, one of the most feared things for me was the fact that I didn't want someone messing with my shot. You know, that's the most feared thing for all basketball players, is that I don't want to change my shot. It's gotten me this far, I'm going to go with it. But you can improve things, and that's what I learned through the Buzz Brayman method, was that I can make improvements on my shot.
I'll take it. Good-looking shot, Buzz. You know, for a long time, you were a secret, an unknown in the NBA. What in the world happened?
Bill, I think people finally realize that my method works.
Well, I know you've worked with a lot of individual players, coaches, and teams. What would be your best success story?
Bill, I'd have to say it'd be Hersey Hawkins. About 3 years ago when he first came into the league, he had a miserable series against the Knicks in the playoffs, shot about 20%. And this past season in the playoffs, he shot 94% from the foul line and 54% from the three-point line. Now, in the playoffs, as you know, that's the time every player wants to raise the level of their game, and he was able to do that with the Sure Shot method.
Yeah, but now wait a minute, Buzz. That guy was a leading scorer in the nation, and I know you've worked with him and elevated his game. How about the average guy? How about the guy that can't play the game?
Well, Billy, what I'm most proud of is being able to teach anyone, regardless of their athletic ability, age, experience, how to shoot a basketball better than they could ever imagine in their wildest dreams, maybe even better than their favorite pro player.
Okay, he's the shot doctor. He knows how to shoot. Buzz Brayman I'm talking about. He teaches the pros, and now he's going to teach you.
Okay, let's put yourselves in my position for a second, which is that of a shooting coach. And here's what I want to ask you. Tell me everything that you know about shooting, what coaches tell you, what your parents or whoever have taught you about shooting. What are some of the things that you're taught to do? Go ahead.
Follow through.
Follow through. Go ahead.
You gotta have good rhythm.
Good rhythm.
You gotta square up.
Square up.
You have to let the ball roll off your fingers.
Excellent. What else?
You have to have arc on the ball.
Arc.
You have to bend your knees.
Bend your knees. See, let me say this to you. Everything that you all have said is excellent, and they're all great shooting tips. But let me ask you a question. Anything that anybody said here, when somebody said bend your knees, Did anybody like not hear of that before? I mean, were you sitting there and when the person said bend your knees, did you go, bend my knees? I got to stop doing this. Most of us bend our knees. And when squaring up was said, did anybody go, like a light bulb go off and go, square up? God, that's the reason. I got to stop doing this. See, I think we all try to do most of the things that are taught to us about shooting. But here's the question. If that's all there was to shooting, square up, bend your knees, follow through, watch the ball go through the basket, how come we all don't shoot better? That's the key question. Okay, if this was the knowledge that's out there on shooting, then why everybody does those things, the ball should go in the hoop, right? How come it doesn't? If it did, I wouldn't have the job that I have. Okay, so fortunately, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. See, my feeling is that a lot of people try to do these things, but the problem is they also try to shoot with rhythm and feel, and they try to square up, but here's what they end up doing, in my opinion. And that is they kind of look at the hoop, they square themselves, you know, they take a few dribbles, and they try to get a little feel thing going here, and the next thing you know, they're kind of, next thing you know, and they try to put the ball in the basket. See, shooting is not about rhythm, and it's not about feel. Although we need your natural instincts of putting a ball in the hole, we're going to use that, but we're going to start adding some science to shooting. And I've seen players in games that they get open shots, and instead of going up to shoot it, they need to like do something to get some kind of rhythm. And the next thing you know, they're saying, boy, this is good. I'm starting to feel this thing now. I'm feeling it today, buddy. I got it now. Next thing you know, you're not making them. Now you're starting to play a little mind game during a game going, well, maybe today isn't my day. Maybe I don't have it today. Let me ask you a question. How many of you people during a game, if you miss a couple, 3 or 4 shots in a row, start losing confidence? That ever happen? Yeah, see, that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Let me ask you another question. How many of you folks shoot good one day and the next day can't make a shot? That ever happen? I mean, you're hot, you got it, you feel it, and you're ready, and you're a shooter now. You're Jerry West. Come in the next day, you go 1 for 12. Why does that happen? See, to me, that shouldn't happen. You're a streak shooter if you're good one day, bad the next. So what we need to talk about is how to get rid of that sometimes good, sometimes bad rhythm. Imagine this. You're at the free throw line with 1 second left, and you're down by 2, and you need both free throws. What if you've missed your last 6 shots? How are you going to feel mentally going to the free throw line? Not very good. You'll be sitting there going, God, I hope my rhythm's good. And you're trying to do this. Next thing you know, oh, maybe this make me get better rhythm. Next thing you know, you miss your first one. And you think you have a prayer on the second one, you got no shot. Okay, so feel, rhythm, that's your natural instincts. We need to take your natural instincts and put some science into this thing. Because what I'm here to tell you is that anybody can shoot the ball tremendously well. Anybody. See, there's some aspects of basketball that with heart and desire, you can get real good. I mean, you can, if you want to be a good defensive player, your heart and desire, you can get it done. Okay? You can just will yourself to be good. If you want to be a great rebounder, you can become a great rebounder with a lot of heart, desire, tenacity. Okay? You can't become a great shooter with heart and tenacity. Okay? Because you could sit here and shoot this way 1,000 times a day. Makes no difference. You'll reach X level, and then you won't get any better. Practice does not make perfect. Okay? Practice makes permanent. And the rest of the saying is perfect practice makes perfect. And we're here to talk about how to practice perfectly, okay? Because science and your natural ability is what will make you a great shooter. So we need to talk about this for a second. Let's analyze the shot of a buddy of mine, Johnny Dawkins, All-American at Duke and star point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. Johnny uses my teaching method, and he's now one of the best shooters in the game. Notice Johnny's balance as he releases the ball. He squares to the target, eyes on the rim, not the ball, knees are bent, all the basics, the same basics that you've learned. So why does Johnny's ball hit the bottom of the net more often than yours? Well, it's because he's mastered what I'm about to teach you, the two most important things necessary for the ball to consistently go through the hoop.
Shoot the ball straight. Every time.
And judge the distance correctly.
When you shoot a basketball and you miss, you can only miss a shot in one of four ways. Think about this, because when we're done here, it's going to change the way you think about shooting. Totally change it. When you shoot and you miss, you're going to miss one of four ways. You miss short, long, left, or to the right. Do you all agree with that? I mean, sometimes you can miss short and to the right, but basically what we're talking about is short, long, left, and right. Agreed? Okay. When you're shooting with this rhythm, ball misses, people look at that and say, well, he missed. She missed. What are you going to do? We're not going to look at that anymore. We're going to analyze how we missed, because when we get done here, we're going to be able to control this ball so well that if we miss to the left, we'll be able to make an adjustment. Okay? If we miss to the right, we're going to be able to make an adjustment, because we understand what causes those things to happen. You miss short, long, we'll understand and have a chance to correct it, and correct it maybe during a game. Short, long, left, right. We have to put these into two categories, okay? Two categories. We got to get short and long in one category, left, right in the other. Makes sense, right? Short, long, left, right. And here's the question. If we could figure out how to make a ball go straight every time we shot it, every shot, jump shot, free throw, if we could make a ball go straight, what would we eliminate out of the four misses? What would we eliminate if every ball we shot went straight? Go ahead.
Left and right.
Exactly. You would never miss to the left and right. Theoretically, if there was a way to make a ball go straight no matter what angle, okay, because we're talking about a circle up here. So if we were at this angle, if we could make a ball go straight every time, we go right down the center, we wouldn't miss to the left or to the right. Now think about that. If we could do it, half of the ways we miss would be eliminated. Okay? We can do it. It's actually incredibly simple. Okay? We're going to talk about how to make a ball go straight, because that's half of shooting. If we can make the ball go straight every time, what's left? We have short and long. Okay? If we master straightness, then all we have to worry about is short and long, which is called depth perception or judging distance. Okay? We figured out how to do that also. Okay? But we need to talk about straightness first, because that anybody can do. It's not even a human side to it. Judging distance, there's a human element to it. But shooting a ball straight is not even human. It's scientific, and anybody can do it. Okay? Let's talk about how to get it done. Everybody, if you'll take your shooting arm, spread your fingers, hold your arm out straight in front of you, okay? Looking down your forearm as though it was like a rifle, the barrel of a rifle, okay? Now, here's what you need to do. If you draw a straight line starting at the top of your forearm and come down, okay, come all the way down your arm, when you come to the end of your arm, to your fingers, you're going to see on a straight line, as you come down, you are going to see that your thumb is way off to the side. These two fingers are way off to the side, okay? If you'll notice, I have my two fingers taped here, which is in part to show and demonstrate this one little point, which is that these two fingers here don't shoot the ball at all, okay? They really have no involvement. But when you finish this straight line at the end, what you'll find are these two fingers. Your index finger and your middle finger are in a perfectly straight line with your forearm, right? Y'all agree? Or is there anybody that's going to say, no, Buzz, it is not. Mine's not like that. I mean, that's the way your arm is built. That's the way your body is, okay? Now, so you say, big deal. So what? It's incredibly important, because here's what happens. Most of us, when we shoot a basketball, when we turn to shoot a ball at a basket, we put a ball up like this, correct? Okay? We have our elbow in, somebody said elbow in, okay? Our elbows are in, which is very important, okay? Straightness. Remember, we're talking about straightness. The straight line that we just drew coming down our forearm to these two fingers, as soon as we put our elbow straight, we've put this straight line right in the middle of the basket, okay? Very, very simple. Now, so you say, big deal, what's with the two fingers? Well, here's what happens. Ball's here. As it leaves your hand and your fingers, guess which fingers it sits on last? These two, index and middle finger, okay? Remember, no matter what move you make, you can do the craziest move, but when you shoot it, the ball is going to do this. It's going to sit on these two last, okay? Remember, these are the two fingers that are in the straight line coming down your forearm, right? Let's go one step further. Of these two fingers, when the ball is released, which finger do you think it leaves off of last? Which finger do you think is the last to touch the basketball? Go ahead. Index finger. Exactly. Here's what happens. Just like this. The last finger to touch a ball when you shoot it is your index finger. Okay? So you say, well, so what? Big deal. Well, you can't say that because this is incredibly important. This finger is what's going to make sure our ball goes straight. Okay? Remember, we talked about we're eliminating all this feel. Okay? We're now going to shoot more scientifically. And here's the key. Wherever your index finger goes when you shoot a basketball is where the ball goes. The ball has no choice. Okay? Think of that for a second, because you kind of got to let that settle in. Wherever this goes is where the basketball goes. Remember, a lot of people do this and just try to put the ball in the hole. We're not going to do that, okay? This is what makes the basketball go straight or not straight, all right? Let me show you how this works. You got to picture this straight line coming down with these two fingers like the barrel of a rifle, like almost with a target sight. That means that as I look at the basket and find the middle of the rim, and when I follow through, if I go obviously above the middle of the rim, then this ball should go straight every time, correct? When I follow through, as my arm straightens out, this is what's going to determine whether the ball goes straight or not. Imagine that. Just a second ago, we were talking about doing this, and now the next thing you know, this goes out the window in favor of this. No longer shooting by feel anymore. I don't have to sit here and say, boy, I hope I shoot good today. I hope I can make it go straight today. See, every day when you wake up, this is always going to be there. And every day when you wake up and go out to shoot baskets, if this goes straight, your ball goes straight. And remember, that's half the battle right there, straightness. So here's what I'm telling you. When you play in a game or shoot in a game, it's no longer good enough when you shoot and miss to say, well, I hope I shoot better tomorrow, or, oh man, today's just not my day, okay? That's no longer got anything to do with it, okay? Straightness, number one. We know how to make a ball go straight. What happens, think about this. Now you understand this principle, right? When I miss a shot that goes to the left side of the rim, how does that happen? How can, if this technique works for straightness, how could I possibly miss to the left? Very simple. This got to go to the left. It's the only way it can happen, okay? So if I shoot and the ball goes on the left side of the rim, it's really incredibly easy to do. All I got to do is take my rifle and the barrel and take it from here and put it over there. The ball has no choice. It's like a string's connected from here to the ball, okay? To miss a shot to the right, same thing. Go here, take it, take my index finger when I follow through, and just go to the right. Ball has no choice. Do you all agree with that? In one technique, one very easy technique that's not even a human factor, it's scientific. Ball goes where the index finger goes. We have solved half of the way we miss shots, okay? What's left to talk about? We have to address short, long, okay? Because if we can shoot straight, if we can make a ball go straight every time, which we now can, it doesn't do any good unless we have depth perception or judging distance, okay? See, the only two things that matter in shooting, in my opinion, is the ability to make a ball go straight and being able to judge distance. All of the things that we mentioned at the start, all of the squaring ups, the bending the knees, all of these things, if you don't do, affect straightness and judging distance. So if we can make a ball go straight but can't judge distance, we're in trouble. Because what would happen if we could shoot straight but couldn't judge distance? What would normally happen is, if I execute the little technique that we just talked about with no depth perception, I'm going to shoot a ball and make it go straight, but if I can't judge the distance properly, it's never going to go in the basket. I'm going to literally miss dead center in the middle of the rim every shot. I'm shooting straight, but my depth perception is not very good. Or if I put too much on it, I'm going to pop the back rim in the center. So straightness without depth perception is like peanut butter without jelly. You got to have both. So now we got to talk about how to judge the distance, okay? We have a technique for that. This is a little bit different than making a ball go straight. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to do this, okay? The human side is depth perception, okay? That's what takes the most amount of work. It's not one simple technique and poof, you have depth perception, okay? We're going to talk about how to improve your depth perception tremendously, okay? Right from the get-go, depth perception is something that most of us do fairly well by instinct. And remember, I said, we don't want to take away your instincts. We want to take your instincts and make them better, okay? Most people, depth perception-wise, meaning I'm standing at 15 feet, and I got to figure out how much legs, how much upper body to get the ball up there. And I think that most basketball players have pretty good depth perception. In other words, most people don't go like this, okay? I mean, most of us don't do that. Our depth perception is pretty good. We can get the ball up there near the hole. What we can't do is we can't get straightness to go along with that depth perception. Okay, we've got to be able to do both. We've just eliminated left-right misses, and now we got to eliminate short-long and marry the two together for this technique to work. Okay, let's go back to follow through with the index finger. Okay, when you watch me shoot, what do you notice about what I do when I follow through? How long do I follow through? When do I stop shooting, in other words? Go ahead.
Usually when it hits the rim.
Exactly. Now see, this is a tremendously important point. It's as important as the index finger, because the index finger alone is not enough to make you a good shooter. Depth perception, okay? Anybody heard of the phrase, pulling the string when you shoot? It's a very popular phrase amongst coaches, and it's one of the things out there, shooting tips, that people really know about. And they say, oh, he's pulling the string, okay? Pulling the string means that your follow-through is very short, meaning like this. Ball's going in the basket, right? So most people will say, well, ball's going in the hole, and what do I got to do anything different for? You can make a ball go in a hole without a good follow-through, no problem. So what's the big deal? Why do I got to do anything different than this? Okay? It's very simple, incredibly simple. See, when you're shooting around by yourself or you're in practice and you're just taking some shots or playing a game of horse, not under pressure with somebody with a hand up, okay, it's easy to get a feel, we'll go back to that word, to kind of put it somewhere up there. But see, we're not here to learn how to win horse games. We're not learning how to be a good practice player. We're here to learn how to be a great shooter in a game. That's what this is about, in a game, okay? Depth perception, let's get back. Depth perception. If you shoot with a short follow-through, you're right back to shooting by feel. This technique with the index finger doesn't work when you pull the string. Why? Very simple. When you shoot a ball and it rolls off your index finger, and when your wrist comes over the top, at this exact moment is where your body judges the distance. The computer, it figures out how much power, how much legs, how much wrist, arm, push-up to judge that distance. That's what happens inside, okay? The exact moment when the ball leaves your index finger, okay? If you pull the string at that exact moment, a couple of things happen. One is you can't guarantee the straightness of the shot anymore with the index finger technique, because as you do this, you don't know where your index finger went when you followed through. It happened so quickly that you could have done that to the left a little bit, and you'd had no way of knowing or controlling that you actually followed through to the left. Okay, so you're going to lose straightness and have no real control over the index finger when you pull the string, okay?
My biggest flaw probably was the fact that I string pulled a lot, by which I would shoot the jumper, but I would never hold my follow through the entire time, which caused me to be inconsistent from outside.
Depth perception is about the little technique of shoot and freeze, okay? You must shoot and freeze, and as Quentin said, I hold my follow through until the ball makes contact with the basket, and that is the key, because if you'll do that, you're giving yourself the same exact shot every time. Every shot you take looks exactly the same. The framework is exactly the same, so that you don't have to worry about one shot you're going to do this, and then the next shot you're going to try to do that better. Every shot is exactly the same. When somebody's running and jumping with a hand up, yelling at you in a game, when you pull the string, you're going to pull it a little faster under pressure. It's going to go, whoa. Okay, not now, because we know when we're done shooting. We are not done shooting a basketball until the ball makes contact with the rim, okay? Every shot looks exactly the same. Every one. When you shoot and freeze, remember, the most important time when you shoot a basketball is the second it leaves your index finger and your wrist comes over the top. That's the most important time, okay? That's the time we need to preserve. And almost like somebody's taking your picture and you're posing for a picture. That's what each shot looks like. So now, we know what we're doing every shot. And I've heard coaches all over the country say, you got to shoot the ball the same way every time. I mean, that's one of the key things that people say about shooting. They say, look, make sure that every shot looks exactly the same. And the player goes, okay, no problem. How do I do that? I mean, if you really don't know what you do, how do you make sure that everyone looks the same? You can't. Okay, if one time you do this, one time you do this, it's not the same. You're getting different depth perception readings. Your straightness isn't going to be the same every time. Now it is. Now it is. By freezing after you shoot, your depth perception is going to get much more finely tuned, much more. And the reason that it will is because every shot is exactly the same. Your form is the same every shot. When your coach is teaching you how to play defense, okay? Defense. You get in your defensive stance. What do they tell you to do when the person you're guarding shoots the ball? What are you supposed to do? What's your responsibility as a defensive player to do when the guy shoots? Go ahead. Put your hand up. Put a hand up. Y'all hear coaches say, get a hand up. Okay, what's that supposed to do to the shooter? Go ahead. Distract him. Distract the shooter. Okay? Let's take that a step further. Distract the shooter means to do what to him? Cause him to change the way he shoots the ball? Right? Well, if you don't know how you shoot the ball, what are you supposed to do as the shooter? And that's why you see people, when somebody puts a hand up, the follow-through goes a little quicker, and they're just kind of trying to get rid of it. But here's what happens. When you shoot a jump shot, if you shot 100 jump shots, out of 100, one maybe would get blocked. In other words, when you make a decision to shoot a ball in a game, and you've made that decision, you've made the decision because the defensive player is off you, enough where you said, I can get this shot off no problem. The player, if he's well coached, is going to do his duty. He's going to jump up and put a hand up, okay? But see, I know it's not going to get blocked. So if my shot's not going to get blocked, what do? I do my thing, which is find the middle of the hoop, shoot, and freeze. You with me? Where do you shoot and freeze above? Where do you stop? How do you know how much arc to get on the ball? It's a good question. These are valid questions. Your instinct helps you tremendously. I read it this way. I use my instinct, and somewhere between 6 and 8 inches above the middle of the rim is the perfect place that gives you perfect arc. And arc is actually incredibly important with this shot, okay? Because imagine, picture this thing from a ball's perspective, like if the ball had eyes, and these people that shoot like the line drives that look like this, okay? You see that angle was very direct? Okay. Well, as the ball is starting to rise and it levels off at the angle it's going to take, we're looking, remember, at a circle. Well, as the ball is rising and it sees the circle, at a short angle or a direct angle, it sees a very small opening, meaning you got to have a very good margin of error to get it in. You know, like Vinnie Johnson. Okay, those balls go at a very direct angle, and they either make it, no bouncing, it doesn't bounce and play, it goes in or it doesn't. As the arc rises and the ball's going up looking at the basket, as it rises above and the ball is looking down, what happens? The hole looks like this now. Okay? So arc is very important. When you set the arc, it happens when your shoulder freezes. When your shoulder freezes here, or if it freezes here, or it freezes here, that determines your arc, okay? When your wrist comes over the top and fingers, that determines where the ball's going. And as I mentioned, your instinct, plus keeping in mind 6, 8 inches above, is going to give you the perfect arc, okay? See that shot right there, that last one? Okay, that ball went in, right? Where did it hit, though?
Front.
Hit the front of the rim, okay? Happens a lot in basketball, a lot. But when that ball hits the front rim, one of two things is going to happen. It's coming this way or it's going that way, okay? Follow through is what makes a ball go that way instead of this way. When you start doing this and pulling that string, that's what leads to those balls hitting the rim and going back. The shot that I made that hit the rim, bounced over, bounce, and in, happened because of shoot and freeze. And that's what you got to do on every shot. Every shot the same. Okay, so everybody now understands how to make a ball go straight and how to judge distance, right? No problem? Let's shoot some hoops. In this next segment, I'm going to correct the 5 most common shooting flaws that keep your shot from going straight or from being too short or long. Everybody has at least one. Once we correct your particular flaw, I guarantee you'll be an improved shooter. There are 5 basic elements that go into making a good shot. The way you hold the ball in your shooting hand, your elbow position, what you do with your offhand, follow through, and eyes on the target. To demonstrate the sure shot technique, I've asked Philadelphia 76er All-Star guard Hersey Hawkins to help us out. Hersey's going to give you a little demonstration on proper shooting technique using my sure shot method. Notice the position of the ball in Hersey's hand. Elbow, offhand, follow through, watch his eyes. That's a near perfect example of what your shot is going to look like when you're finished. But now you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. It didn't work, did it? Because there's a couple things, very important things, that I left out, purposely left out. There's 5 tremendously important ingredients, what some might view as small details, okay? And while others view them as small details, I view them as critical, okay? And we have to cover these 5 things, because without the 5 elements covered, we can't make sure a ball leaves our index finger, okay, unless a couple of things are covered. In order to make a ball go off your index finger and for the straightness part to work, there are details that have to be covered. In order to judge distance better than you've ever judged it before, 5 elements have to be covered. And one thing I want to say about shooting a basketball, see, people look at shooting a basketball as like one motion. And if you look at it quickly, it is one motion. Girl picks up a ball, shoots it, and that's the end. People say, yeah, I don't understand. How come it doesn't go in? It looks nice. It looks like they do it correctly. Most of us are not aware of the little mechanics that make the stroke happen. And with an understanding of the entire stroke, the 2 main principles, straightness, depth perception, and the 5 elements we're about to talk about, that's what comprises the basketball shot. Let's talk about how to hold the ball properly, which you do pretty much on the money. Right now, as I'm sitting here looking at you, I see a gap where I can literally put my finger underneath between your palm and the ball, which is good, okay, because you don't shoot off of your palm. Now, as you stay there, and let me go around behind you, your hand is spread, your fingers are spread between your thumb and your index finger, which is allowing you to keep that ball off your palm. In other words, there's a lot of people that shoot off the palm of their hand, and I tell you, fortunately, you don't have this problem. But when your thumb and your index finger get too close together, here's what happens. If you're like this, and this distance is close together, look what happens. That's where the ball sits, right? Yeah. Now, as soon as I open my thumb up, watch what happens to the ball. See it raise up? Yeah. Okay. And when your thumb and your index finger are spread properly, the ball sits on this pad right here. In everybody's hand is a pad, okay? And this ball must be resting on this pad and up, okay? If the thumb is spread, it'll do that. If the thumb goes like this, the ball's gonna drop down, okay? So you're in good shape right there. Now here's a problem. Stay like that. Remember, we talked about the straight line coming down here. Now with your elbow flared out to the right a little bit, you're starting your shot off crooked, believe it or not. So if you are starting crooked, that means that you are going to have to figure out a way to compensate this crookedness to come straight. Remember, the barrel of the rifle comes down here. Index finger is very important. Your elbow, because it's out here, is going to want to go this way, okay? So it seems to me it'd be a lot easier if we could just get that a little bit more in. See, shooting should be what the simplest, to break it down to its most simple component, it should be from here, where you have a nice shape of an L, right? From this position, pushing up and following through, okay? Anything else is uncivilized, okay? So, from that position, let's see you bend down, push up, follow through, and freeze. Sweet. Stay. Stay just like that now. Stay. Don't drop them. All right, now let's examine this arm by arm for a second. See this arm? It's looking good, right? Perfectly. Your arm, when you shoot a ball, it's got to come to a complete lock, perfectly straight, which is yours is doing. Your fingers are perfect. Your wrist comes over the top. Perfect. Okay, so I got no problem with this arm. This the arm I got a problem with, okay? Here's why. You see also, it's almost fully extended like this one, right? Okay, that's number one. Number two, you see how your hand is actually turned facing the basket. In fact, if you look close enough, you'll see this hand looks almost like this one. A little bit more, and that's the difference. Okay, so here's what it tells me. It tells me that this hand shot the ball, okay? Because the only reason it would be up, extended, and facing the basket is because it followed through also, okay? Got me? Okay, put them down. Your left hand is shooting the ball along with your right hand, okay? The method only works when you shoot a ball with one hand, okay? The ball, when you shoot with one hand, goes off your index finger every time, right? Which determines the straightness. It also, when you shoot a ball with one hand, will cause backspin automatically, right? This hand, because what's happening is your thumb is pushing and shooting as you shoot the ball. Here's what happens a lot. As you push this thumb, it pushes the ball off of the index finger and more on to these fingers, right? As soon as that happens, you take the sure shot method, throw it out the window. It doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work because this is where the action is. And if your left thumb is taking it off, then there goes the method out the window. Not only that, but here's what happens. People who shoot with their thumb and push it in like varying degrees. Sometimes you push a little bit, sometimes you push harder, and you never really know how hard you're going to push. And depending on how hard you push, if you push just a little bit, it might only move the ball to there. If you push harder, it'll move it there. There are times, now you answer honest to God here, do you ever have balls that, like when you shoot them, they slip off your hand or like you lose control of? Yeah. Okay, that happens to a lot of players, and the ones who use their thumb, if you push too hard, you'll lose the ball on the way up. Okay, so the key is we got to examine first is how you hold the ball with your left hand, okay, because this is going to be critically important. When I hold the ball with my left hand, here's the key elements. The first thing you got to look at is the distance between your thumb and your index finger, okay? If you open your hand up like this, players who open their hand up do that to grip the ball so that they can shoot, right? So I say eliminate that problem. If you don't spread this thing, you can't pinch. So the distance between your thumb and index finger is not much, okay? This letter, if you will, looks like a V, and that's what you need. When you're like this, you got a serious U, okay? So if you have a V shape here, it's very hard to pinch because there's nothing there to pinch, right? All right, so if your fingers are on the ball here, the second most important thing is where these four fingers are on the ball. And if you imagine, if you will, that this ball was a clock, okay? These four fingers are at about 10 o'clock, okay? And if they stay at about 10 o'clock, then when you go up, it's going to be very easy to get rid of your hand. Players who bring this here and bring their hand on this side of the ball, it's hard to get the hand out of the way. So we're over here at about 10 o'clock with a nice V here, and the third, and maybe the most important, is if you look underneath at the palm, you'll see that my palm does not even touch the ball. You see what I'm saying? The only thing that's touching is this pad right here, and then my fingers. And I do that because the most important thing to happen when you shoot a basketball in order to shoot with one hand is you've got to lose this left hand. Okay, this left hand does not shoot. The only thing it does, it's like a tray. It brings the ball up, and when you're ready to shoot, this hand goes away. And when it goes away, then you're guaranteed to get that ball off your index finger. If your left hand goes up and fully extends, it's going to shoot. So my left hand stops, and my arm is bent, and my hand position, this doesn't change when I shoot the ball. In other words, how my hand is on the ball, that's how it is when I'm done shooting, right there. Okay, it doesn't go up with me. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. Critically important. My left hand does not shoot the ball, it stops. In the course of this tape, you will see me using a unique teaching device, a thumb and arm restraint system that we call the Star Strap. We have found this restraining system to be very helpful in practicing the Buzz Brayman shooting method. Notice how the Star Strap is keeping the left hand off the ball. It's allowing the right hand to shoot it all by itself. And if you notice, the thumb position and the left-handed position totally is straight up and down, does not get involved in the shot, and the strap restrains the left hand from turning and shooting and following through, which is one of the main problems shooters have. If you'll practice with this, what will happen is after a few weeks of about 30 to 45 minutes a day, your left hand becomes trained. Muscle memory will kick in just like it does with the sure shot method of shooting. And what you're doing is training the muscles in your left hand to stay in the position that the strap is putting them in. And notice how the thumb position and the index finger on the left hand form almost like the letter V, and it's not turning and shooting the ball. The strap allows the shooting hand to do its job with no interference, and that's really the key. The strap makes the offhand do its job and its job only, which is to bring the ball up in position so that the shooting hand can push up and follow through. Go ahead. Okay, now, here's what we want to make sure happens. When we shoot and freeze, when your arm straightens out, it's got a lock directly in the middle with no variation, meaning we don't want arm movement. When you lock, we don't want you to drift like this. On that last shot you took, you had movement going to the right. And because you moved your arm to the right with your index finger, that pulled the ball and made it hit the right side of the rim and bounce there. So when you shoot and freeze, you want to make sure you're in the middle without your arm drifting to the side or drifting down, okay? Okay. Go ahead. Perfect. One of the great flaws that people have when they shoot is they watch the ball, okay? I call them ball watchers, and here's what I mean. Literally, within an instant after this ball leaves your fingertips, your index finger, your eyes look up in the air and watch the ball, okay? You're taking your eyes off the basket, so here's what happens. You watch, like if yours was the rim, here's what you do. Okay? Now, as soon as you look up, your index finger, you have no idea where it's going. See, we all agreed earlier that the ball's going to go where this goes. Yeah. Now, you tell me how you're going to put your index finger above the middle of the rim if you're not looking at it. Can't do it. See, here's what I'm saying. You and me, let's step at the foul line. Okay. We're going to make a little wager, okay? All right. Here's what the bet is. We agree the middle of the rim is somewhere between those, what, two prongs right there, right? Yeah. Okay? With this method of shooting, if you shoot and freeze over it, shooting the ball with one hand, guaranteed that ball is going to go at least straight. You might not judge the distance correctly, but it's going to go straight. Now, the way you shoot watching the ball, here's what happens. You go like this, okay? And now you're looking up in the air. Now, are you willing to bet me, let's say, $1 that your index finger right now is over the middle of the front rim? You want to make that bet?
No.
No? Why not?
Because I don't know where my finger is if I'm looking up.
Right, you can't see it, right?
Right.
How about if you kept your eyes there and went like this? You willing to make the bet now?
Yes.
So here's what we need to do. Let's come back in. Ball watching is a killer, okay? It won't hurt you that much just shooting around with your friends in a gym, okay? Because there's no pressure, there's no nothing. But in a game, when somebody's yelling and screaming and you're taking your eyes off that target, it's killing your concentration, okay? And it's an extremely common mistake at all levels of play. So we're going to do the same thing we just did with the one hand, okay? Except we're going to try now holding your follow through and keeping your eyes glued to the target. Okay. There you go. Excellent. Let's go over the key points one more time. There are 5 basic elements that go into making a good shot. The way you hold the ball in your shooting hand, your elbow position, what you do with your offhand, follow through, and eyes on the target. It's a very important element that we need to talk about concerning shooting with this method, the sure shot method. Muscle memory is a term that's used today a lot in sports, which is like a real fancy word. The meaning of muscle memory is actually very simple. What it means is when you do a motion enough times, your muscles memorize what that motion is. Okay? In other words, everything that you learn how to do, whether it's school, no matter what sport, motion, whether it's learning how to write, the thought process goes like this. Anytime somebody's trying to teach you something, you have to think about it, okay? You must put thought into it, okay? And it's the same thing here. When you first start doing this technique, you're going to be telling yourself, okay, I've got to hold my follow through, okay? I've got to do these 5 elements and make sure that all of them are correct. And some coaches or people will say, well, you can't think when you shoot a ball. You're just supposed to shoot it instinctively, you know? And thinking too much in sports is not good, okay? It's best when you can just react, okay? That's really the name of the game. Don't confuse that with what we're working on here. We're learning something, and in order to learn it, you have to think about it, okay? You have to make sure that every time you shoot it, you are telling yourself to do this, because here's what happens. When you do it enough times, enough repetition, muscle memory takes over. It'll happen automatically. When will it happen? I don't know. It varies person to person. Everybody learns at a different rate. It might take 1,000 shots. It might take 10,000 shots. It might take 50,000 shots. But I'll assure you one thing. One day, you'll be coming into the gym after days and days and days of telling yourself to do it. You're going to pick up a basketball, shoot it, and go, oh my God, I forgot to tell myself to do it. I just did it automatically. That's muscle memory. See, when I shoot, and the players that I work with shoot, there is no thought process in this at all. Here's what happens. The only thing we do is we find the basket, and this happens automatically. Okay? You don't have to force yourself to keep your arm up. Your arm does it automatically.
It creates muscle memory for me to be out here shooting before and after practice. And muscle memory is what enables me to keep using the system and use it correctly. Like now is a time in my career where I don't have to think about the method I'm using. I just go out there and shoot the basketball. And, you know, I'm able to diagnose during the games as well as after games what I did wrong with my shot.
Let's go over the key points one more time. The 2 most important factors of being a great shooter are shooting straight and having good depth perception. That means always being able to analyze why your ball missed. Was it right, left, too long, or too short? Then adjust accordingly. There are 5 basic elements that go into making a good shot. The way you hold the ball in your shooting hand, your elbow position, what you do with your offhand, follow through, and eyes on the target. And last but not least, have fun.
Hey, Buzz, it looks like that sure shot method is still working, whether it be for the kids, coaches, pros, or even an over-the-hill gang like me.
Well, Bill, that's right. And I think one of the reasons it works is because it's so simple to do. Anybody can do it regardless of their age or athletic ability. But I think it's real important that the people watch this tape several times so that the ideas can really sink in and have some fun with it. So keep practicing and have fun.
All right, hit it for me. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed your instruction in my sure shot method for accurate shooting. Review the tape often as you practice to be sure that you have it down right. As I promised at the beginning of this tape, I will be giving you information on how to order the star strap restraining system that I used in teaching the sure shot method.
What the strap does is, of course, it takes your thumb, your offhand thumb, away from the ball, so you're not pushing, you're not giving as much force on your offhand, which of course makes you to miss more shots. And, you know, it's very helpful. It helped me a lot because, you know, in the beginning, that was one of the things I did a lot was use my left hand a lot, my offhand, and it threw a lot of my shots off. Instead of maybe being consistent on maybe 18 out of 20 shots, I was consistent on 14 out of 20. And, you know, that's a big difference when you're able to make 2 or 3 more shots. And the strap, it helped me keep the hand off, concentrate more on my follow-through, my form, and it works.
Oh, yeah, the strap was a very nice device. What it did for me, the times I shot with it, is it made sure that I didn't put my other hand on the ball and rest it there too long, which would throw my shot off. And it made the adjustment for me. It took me a couple shots to get used to, but after I did, I started to really enjoy working with the device. And it will definitely make an improvement in making sure that you don't have a two-handed shot.
The Star Strap is not available in any store, but you can buy one for just $14.95, plus shipping and handling.
Call 1-800-84-STRAP. That's 1-800-847-8727 to order your Star Strap restraining system. MasterCard, Visa, check or money order accepted. And operators are standing by 24 hours a day. Call 1-800-84-STRAP. That's 1-800-847-8727. Call today.
But remember, the Star Strap should never be worn in a game or any competitive situation, even one-on-one. The strap is to be worn for individual practice only. If worn during a game, the strap could cause serious hand and arm injury, so read and follow the instructions you receive carefully. Thank you again. Keep watching, keep practicing, and remember to make every shot a sure shot. Good luck.